Vice President Delcy Rodriguez was received at the Great People's Palace in Beijing by her Chinese counterpart Han Sen. During the meeting, they reviewed the bilateral agenda, decided to strengthen cooperation within the framework of the strategic partnership to face the challenges of a new world that fights against hegemonism. The Venezuelan delegation conveyed the affectionate and fraternal greetings of President Nicolás Maduro and reiterated the willingness to continue building a common destiny. The cooperation map between Venezuela and China contemplates more than 600 binational agreements in fundamental areas for the development of both peoples under the principles of brotherhood, cooperation, and mutual benefit. In the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the government and the M23 movement have agreed to a truce in the conflict that has been ravaging the east of the country. The deal follows peace talks held in Doha by both parties over the last week under the mediation of Qatar, where they reaffirmed their commitment to the cessation of hostilities. These are the first face-to-face talks between the two factions since last January, when the M23 offensive conquered numerous territories in the neighboring provinces of North and South Kivu. In this regard, negotiations are expected to resume in Qatar in the coming weeks for a broader peace deal. The conflict has left over 8,500 people dead since January alone and caused the forced displacement of some 1.2 million. In Pakistan, hundreds of people rally in Islamabad and other cities against India's suspension of the water sharing treaty. Protesters described the suspension of the treaty as an atrocious act. The decision comes after a terrorist attack in Kashmir, India, in which at least 26 people were killed. So far, the Indian government has presented no evidence directly linking Pakistan to the terrorist attack. Protesters are demanding that the government apologize for the unfounded accusations and overturn the suspension of the treaty. And Syria reports new Israeli attacks southwest of the city of Damascus, in addition to a ground incursion by Israeli troops with armored vehicles and military vehicles against villages in the area. Syrian citizens denounced violations by the Israeli occupation forces and called for intervention to stop the aggressions and blockades against farmers, herdsmen, and beekeepers, who are prevented by Israel from accessing their lands. They also denounced land incursions in the city of Damascus, Quneitra, and Dera by the occupation forces, as well as taking control of the buffer zone and the advance towards the border areas. And Spain scrapped a 6.6 million euros order for millions of bullets from an Israeli company after junior partners in the coalition government denounced it as a flagrant breach of the alliance agreement. Coalition allies of Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez said the ammunition purchase jeopardized the country's efforts to hold Israel accountable for the genocide in Gaza. After recognizing Palestine as a state in 2024, the Spanish government said to be committed to stop arms trade with the Zionist regime. Yet it emerged that the Interior Ministry wanted the purchase of 15.3 million rounds of 9mm ammunition from Israeli company IMI Systems. The news drew a furious response from the left-wing Sumar platform, as leaders expressed they would not tolerate any part of the executive financing a genocidal state. And according to latest comments from Washington and the Kremlin, the meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump could take place shortly after Trump's trip to Saudi Arabia next month. This was stated by U.S. President himself during a meeting with the press. For his part, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov stated that he hopes the meeting is productive as both leaders want results and are carrying out preparatory work. Progress towards normalization of bilateral relations began with a meeting of delegations in Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia, on February 18th. Later that month, negotiations were held in Istanbul 2 weeks ago. In other topics, this Thursday, as part of the plan to return to the homeland, a new flight of the Venezuelan state-owned company Confianza arrived with 316 repatriates from Mexico. Return to the homeland plan flights continue to arrive at the international airport in La Guaira state on this occasion with 174 adults and 142 children and adolescents. This flight from Mexico is integrated by families of migrants. It is part of the government's measures to protect the integrity of the Venezuelan rights that have suffered discrimination after massive deportation policies by the United States. The government affirms that more than 3,000 Venezuelans have been repatriated thanks to this new stage of the plan back to the homeland on the dignified treatment for their reintegration into Venezuelan society. And Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodriguez was received at the Great People's Palace in Beijing by her Chinese counterpart Han Sen. During the meeting, they reviewed the bilateral agenda, decided to strengthen cooperation within the framework of the strategic partnership to face the challenges of a new world that fights